Today we are going to react to a video by Jloyd and Mandy, a couple of Australian people, on their first experience traveling to their different destinations in the Philippines. And some things they've got right, but a few things I want to comment on and perhaps work around so you guys don't have to run into the same kind of problems.
So number 7 would be the Wi-Fi. For us as digital nomads, it's extremely important for us to have high-speed internet and reliable Wi-Fi because our jobs depend on it. And the Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty and a little bit unreliable since we've been in the Philippines. It's something that we think everyone needs to be aware of maybe before coming here if you are someone like us as a nomad. If you are just coming on holiday, it's probably the best place to unplug because you don't really have to worry about that. But as far as the Wi-Fi speed, downloading seems to be okay, but the upload speed is quite slow. For us as YouTubers and just for our other businesses as well, it's been a bit of a struggle. We do use a video compressor. I myself use Handbrake for all of our YouTube videos, something.
Yeah, she's getting into the technical details as a blogger, what they have as a workaround. But you, as a regular guy visiting the Philippines, you didn't need to upload or download or worry about the difference. You just need to message your Airbnb or the hotel where you're staying and just ask them straight out what is the internet speed. And usually they will be honest about it. And yeah, we don't need to get into the debate or the details of what upload speed is, but just to summarize, it's more important regarding upload speed if you're doing video calls. If you're just doing YouTube or watching videos on the internet, download speed is plenty, and it doesn't matter really what the upload speed is, as long as it's more than zero or better than zero, I should say. So yeah, you don't need to worry about tools or video compressions and any of those problems and asking the Airbnb host what is the upload speed, what is the download speed, because you just need to worry about what the download speed is. And if you're staying out of the province, you're staying in the main city, it's anything better than 10 megabits is plenty for YouTube videos or even stock trading if you're doing trading while you're traveling or while you're in the Philippines.
So, like Mandy said, it's not even really that the Wi-Fi is slow. It's more that it's unreliable. You can still stream movies and things like that, but it's the upload speed that really gets you. And we find that whenever we check into a hotel, the Wi-Fi is fine for the first day, and I think it sort of runs out of data or something because by day 2 or 3, it's really bad. It's really spotty.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true. In the major cities, the metropolitan areas, there's usually not a problem with the speed slowing down after 2 or 3 days, unless you're like reaching somebody's bandwidth limit. And usually hotels or even Airbnbs, they have unlimited download speeds. But of course, there is the risk of running into some sort of limit or some sort of throttling. But in most cases, you don't need to worry about that unless you're like a full-time video blogger like these two people. Um, just message the Airbnb or ask the front desk at the hotel before you book what the internet speed is, so you know what to expect or if you should book a different place. But some guys are stock traders and they need to have fast access and reliable access, like the guy was mentioning. The dropouts or the outage is sometimes a bit of a trouble. So yeah, that's kind of hard to ask the hotel or ask the Airbnb if there's dropouts. But yeah, the other thing you might want to ask in the last 7 days, has there been any power outages? Because a lot of the province areas, they have power outages, so um, that could be a more serious problem than the internet. You suddenly the power goes out for half a day and you can't do anything, whether it's internet or doing computer work. That would be a disaster. So So just ask your host, what is the internet speed, and has there been any power outages in the last 7 days or so, just to get an idea, or you could say in the last month or so, just to get an idea how stable the power is.
Body, and we find ourselves having to upload things overnight. We actually have a little hack for the slow Wi-Fi, which is purchasing a SIM card to bring around with you. It's really cheap, and it's just like an extra backup in case the Wi-Fi doesn't work. There's really two companies you can buy a SIM card with, and it's either Smart or Globe. We went with Smart because it had better reviews, and we just went into a store and bought a new SIM card. It was really easy. Actually, the security.
Yeah, Globe is the preferred internet provider in Makati or in Metro Manila. They own half. I mean, the Globe company, the parent company, the Ayala Corporation, owns half of Makati, so they have made sure internet coverage for Globe in Makati is very good. It's better than Smart, but Smart is a close second, and especially in the province areas, yeah, Smart might be better, but in Makati, it's Globe. Don't choose anything else.
Security guard is the one who sold it to us.
Yeah.
And there's places you can reload that everywhere, but like I said, we haven't really had to use it. We just had it as an emergency. If you're on the little islands or provinces, you can reload it pretty much from anywhere.
Yeah, I purchased a couple of pocket Wi-Fi for those backup situations, but I've never had to use it. And frankly, if I ever needed to use it, I would just be tearing my hair out because it's so slow and it's so non-continuous. Yeah, this is an example of a pocket Wi-Fi. It takes a SIM card, and in an emergency, this might work, but it's actually better just to use the internet connection over your mobile phone. So you don't even need a pocket Wi-Fi. It's a waste of money, in my opinion. I used to have it as a backup for many years, but I've never used it.
So number 6, and this is something we weren't really expecting, was accommodation seems to be more expensive than other places in Southeast Asia, mainly Thailand, Vietnam, and Bali. We're expecting the accommodation to be quite similar, but it's not. You really don't get as much value for money. You have to spend a little bit extra. So to give you an example, in Vietnam and Thailand, we were spending like 25 to 30 Australian dollars a night, and we were getting like really good Wi-Fi, sometimes breakfast, a gym, things like that. Really like good hotels, 4-star hotels. Maybe it had something to do with the pandemic, but in the Philippines, we've really struggled to find anything on the same level for under 60 Australian dollars.
Yeah, nothing's really ticked all the boxes for us so far.
Yeah, that's true. Philippines is, I don't know why, but it's overpriced, and they put those noisy in-window air cons rather than the split level air cons that are more common in high-end accommodations. Like in Thailand, I think it's very rare to find the old window air cons, and they are so noisy. I can't even sleep in a bedroom where they have the window aircon. I always, if I have to sleep in a room with a window or aircon, I always turn it off, and I just sweat it out in the heat. I just, it's too noisy for me. But the split level aircon I have in my apartment here, you can't even hear it when it's on. I can turn it on right now, as a matter of fact, and I probably doubt if you can hear it. Of course, it depends on the mic setup, if it's going to pick anything up in the ceiling here. But yeah, it's on now. It's so quiet. The only thing you hear is the beep on and off. But yeah, it's true. For some reason, accommodation in the Philippines is higher than Vietnam or Thailand. Could be because, yeah, I just don't know. Maybe there is some sort of inflated prices that the owners are keeping the rate high for some reason, and there's sort of some games that people are playing with rentals. I don't know, but it seems like prices and value for money is better in Thailand and in Vietnam. Don't know why. If any of you guys know why prices in the Philippines are are overinflated for accommodation, let me know.
I guess one of them being the Wi-Fi. If we find somewhere that's beautiful and looks good, usually the Wi-Fi hasn't been good. So yeah, that has been a bit of a challenge as well since we've been here.
That's not to say that the Philippines is more expensive. We actually just did a video on the cost of living in the Philippines. You can click the link and watch it later, but it sort of evens out because other things like food and transport is really cheap here.
Yeah, food is cheap, but it depends what you buy. If you buy Western quality food, it gets expensive. It could be even American prices for a Western style meal. So that blanket statement that food is cheaper in the Philippines is it depends what you buy. If you buy lunch from a street vendor, and you be careful what you buy so you don't get food poisoning. You're paying about $1, 50 pesos for a meal, or maybe 75 pesos if you get some rice or some side dish. So it depends what you buy. But if you go to a Western style restaurant, you could easily pay 300 to 500 pesos for lunch. So which quickly becomes like American prices.
So number 5 is probably my favorite one. Philippines has the best seafood I've ever had in my life and the best barbecue as well. I've said this in multiple of our videos, so everyone's probably sick of me saying it, but it's true. Delicious.
Yeah, the Filipinos definitely know how to cook pork. They make the best pork in the world. And of course, if you go to a resort by the sea, you'll usually get high quality seafood. So what you're saying is true, but you got to be careful with the seafood. I know in Boracay they have beautiful restaurants by the ocean side, and they have raw seafood sitting in boxes all day long, and I've heard friends getting stomach ache and throwing up, getting food poisoning after going to one of those restaurants. So if you go to a restaurant by the sea in Boracay, just stay away from the seafood on the beach. It can be dangerous unless you check to make sure the seafood is refrigerated and not sitting all day outdoors in the sun.
And so fresh.
Yeah, and honestly, it makes sense because the Philippines is thousands of islands and you're surrounded by water everywhere you go. So it does make sense that they would have good seafood, but the barbecue is something that really took us by surprise. The barbecue's been awesome. So number 4, traveling around the Philippines isn't really cheap. Now, when I say transport's cheap, that means like taxis and grabs and motorbike hire. That's all cheap. But because everything's sort of so isolated, if you want to travel from different provinces to other islands, it's not that cheap because you have to either get a flight or you have to get a ferry, which actually isn't that cheap either. You're going to probably spend about $100 to $200 Australian getting from one island to another.
Yeah, that's true. So what I recommend as a workaround is to don't come to the Philippines with a long list of places you want to see, different islands, because it does cost, like you said, $100 to $200 to fly to a different island. So just concentrate on a major area like Cebu, Metro Manila, and just kind of explore, make some friends, and kind of stay in one local area as much as you can to avoid the costly travel expenses.
So if you want to go island hopping in the Philippines, just be prepared to plan ahead if you can, because you will get cheaper flights. But we sort of plan a lot of our stuff last minute, so it wasn't very cheap for us at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that they try to catch you on when you fly between islands, particularly the budget airlines and even some of the more established airlines, they charge extra fees, quite big fees for overweight on luggage. So when you book tickets, make sure you have a cheap little weight scale that you can actually put in your pocket to weigh your luggage, both your carry-on and your check-in luggage, so you're below the limits. And you can check your airline ticket, or you can book your airline ticket with knowing or looking for the kind of flight you want with X amount of pounds for check-in and carry-on luggage. Otherwise, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg because they charge a lot for last-minute upgrades to the luggage at the airport. It's better to buy the ticket with some luggage allowance built into your ticket price, and don't just look for an economy fare without luggage. They're really going to try to sting you at the airport if you buy extra luggage at the airport.
I think our way of traveling maybe is a bit different to most. Like if you're coming for a holiday, obviously it's going to be a little bit different than if you are just like a nomad like us working on the road and planning a few days in advance. But yeah, definitely if you can plan in advance, do so.
Yeah, if I had known how expensive it would have been, we probably would have booked a lot of our trip a bit earlier. We were actually quite surprised at how many people speak English here. If you go to some of the smaller islands, it's still...
Surprised that they speak so much English? Well, English is one of the official languages in the Philippines. Why is this guy surprised? I'm surprised that he even says that. Philippines is, in my mind, just like being in California or some Filipino area in California. The Philippines, they all speak English. Even taxi drivers in the local areas and province areas, they all speak English. There's no problem. They don't. Some of them don't speak perfect English, but it's English good enough for conversing and finding out where you're going or what you want to buy. It's no problem at all. It's not like Thailand where it's hit and miss who you can communicate with. It's one of the reasons why I love the Philippines so much better than the Thailand.
still a little bit of a grey area where they don't speak as good at English, but pretty much everywhere, if you walk into a shop or a restaurant and you speak English, they're going to know what you're saying to an extent anyway, because I have an Australian accent and they don't understand me.
No one understands you.
Well, come on. I don't think the Australian accent is that hard, but maybe the Filipinos complain.
So one thing I noticed and wasn't really expecting is just how much of an American influence there is here. I didn't know, but apparently Philippines is the only country in Asia that doesn't use chopsticks. As we mentioned before, their barbecue is amazing, and you'll find like...
Yeah, they don't use fork and knife in the Philippines. I found that quickly when I first came to the Philippines years ago. I still don't use the fork and spoon that they normally eat with here in the Philippines. I find that to be so awkward. I'm used to fork and knife, but I'm American, so.
burger joints and really like Western Americanized food restaurants all over the Philippines. They also drive on the right-hand side of the road, which was a bit of a shock coming from the other parts of Southeast Asia. They also, as we mentioned, they speak a lot of English, and the number one sport in the Philippines is basketball, which was very surprising because everywhere else in Asia it seems to be like soccer or football, whatever you call it.
Lots of soccer, yeah.
We're actually going to our first...
Yeah, sorry, mate. They don't play football or the Australian sports of ball.
Filipino basketball game in a couple of days, so make sure you check out that video when we release it.
As a Canadian, I feel like I felt more at home here because of the American influence. I don't know. Because of all the other countries we've been to, it was kind of nice coming somewhere that had that American feel to it. It sort of made me feel, like I was back in Canada a little bit.
Yeah, and even though the history of the Philippines and Americans may have been a little bit difficult at times, they still love Americans. I am always feeling welcome whenever I talk to people, and the locals are very friendly. Even the females are very friendly, and it's not just because America is one of the wealthier countries in the world, but I feel like it's like a second home for me. So it's very easy to fit into the Philippines as an American.
I'd say it's not quite as much of a culture shock as it is going to like Indonesia and Vietnam and Thailand.
And number one would be the weather. So the weather's been pretty inconsistent and different everywhere that we've been so far.
Yeah, I was really surprised because the first place we really went was El Nido, and it pretty much rained every day, which we knew we were coming in the middle of wet season. But then somebody reached out to us and told us that Chagao is actually dry season, and I thought that can't be possible. Like, they're not that far from each other. I think it's about an hour flight or something. And it turns out that July is the driest month in Chagao, and since we've been here, it's been pretty much blue skies every day.
It's been beautiful, the best weather, and the water and everything. Like, just being in Chagao has been beautiful. Like, the best, I think actually the best weather we've had since we've been in Southeast Asia, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it does rain a lot in Chagao, but we just happen to get lucky and be here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what year these two folks visited the Philippines, but I remember last year, 2023, it was raining almost every single day. I don't know if it's had something to do with the El Nino weather pattern. Somebody mentioned that to me before. Could be related to that. And this year, it's hardly rained at all, at least in Metro Manila. I think we've had a couple of rainy days, but other than that, it's been blue skies and beautiful weather all the time. But you can figure the weather, at least in Manila, Metro Manila, is around 32 degrees Celsius for most of the year. And for me, that's like, from a Western country, that's like summer. I mean, it's like a hot summer. But after a while, a few weeks, you don't really complain, or you don't really feel like it's too hot. You just kind of wear light clothes and shorts, and you kind of get used to it, and you expect it, and it's a wonderful feeling to have summer every day of the year.
In the dry months. So if you're planning a trip to the Philippines, it's not a blanket weather system across the whole country. Just do your research, and you'll find that there's probably certain areas that you're better off going at certain times of year.
Just keep
Yeah, I don't know about Surigao Island, but I hear it's like a surfing area, surfing community, and it has a different kind of weather pattern. So yeah, do your research before you travel to an area that's a little out of the way in the Philippines, because the weather pattern could be different. Even in something like the popular Boracay, I know there's two sides to that island, and they have like a sunny side and a windy side, and just be careful on the windy side, because it's not necessarily raining, but it gets really really windy on the windy side. It's popular with windsurfers there. Yeah, and you can see them doing their sports every hour of the day, it seems like. But just do your research before you visit one of the islands. The weather pattern could be very local.
keep in mind, if you are going to these other islands as well, just an extra side note, because of the rainy season and being on islands, it is a little bit buggy. I've noticed, like, there's lots of, creepy crawlies, and mosquitoes are pretty prevalent here. So if you are, prone to getting bit, just keep that in mind. Bring lots of mosquito repellent with you, because I am someone that constantly gets bit by everything. So just to keep that in mind as well.
And also, being like monsoon season, it doesn't mean it rains all day. It just might be cloudy for most of the day, and you'll probably get an hour or two of rainfall in the afternoon, so it's not too bad anyway.
See you guys in the next one.
Yeah, and on the bug mosquito repellent thing, yeah, just make sure you buy a natural repellent, not with DEET. That's supposed to be poisonous, and yeah, we don't know what it really does to the human body. But I have found plenty of places where they sell natural repellents, and they seem to work very effectively. Bugs are not really a problem in the Philippines, unless you go to some very like moist and kind of rainy, kind of stagnant water areas. Here in Makati, there's no stagnant water usually, and I don't ever have any mosquito issues when I go out to restaurants that are seated outside. A couple of times I have a little finger size bottle repellent that I spray on my legs just in case, but usually it's never a problem.